Joining me now is Harmeet Dillon, CEO of the Center for American Liberty, and Cynthia Garrett, founder of Cynthia Garrett Ministries, author of I Choose Victory. Harmeet, I want to begin with you and this tortured vision of justice that was proffered by Kamala Harris today. Now I know why they wanted to kind of keep her out of the spotlight after that debate with Vice President Pence where she embarrassed herself. How should we think about this coming punitive Justice Department?
Well, I think a lot of us were predicting, Laura, that the left, Biden and Harris, if they got power, would start out by bayoneting the wounded. And that is exactly what they have announced in their very inflammatory rhetoric yesterday. Nobody who saw what happened at the Capitol yesterday, who's an American, should be happy about it. But I didn't see the police letting a mob come in. The police were overpowered there. And every single criminal who destroyed property and trespassed and threatened our legislators doing their sacred duty should be punished for that. But Kamala Harris has a history of letting criminals get off in her state, in the city I live in, San Francisco. And so her vision is a very twisted one indeed. And, you know, what exactly is she saying should have happened at the Capitol? One person lost her life, at least. Several others may. And should there have been more shootings to even the score? You know, she doesn't have a good conclusion there. So nothing good is coming out of her vision. And I think we're in for a couple of very rough years of retribution here to people who are conservative. Laura.
Yeah, anyone who heard the comments of Kamala Harris today has got to be concerned about what's coming in the coming months for people who have political disagreements, people who maybe forcefully disagree. Not with action, but forcefully in ideology. Given what the tone of her rhetoric and this idea that if you are liberal and a protester, you somehow are getting treated differently than if you're describing yourself as a conservative and a protester. Gosh, I was in that Lafayette Park at the end of May, right before the church was set ablaze, where they tried to burn it down. I was there that night. There was a lot of violence going on. There was a lot of mayhem and pushing against the police barricades, Harmeet. If they could have, they would have gone through the fence at the White House, if they could have.
Right.
So
well, Laura,
I was there and I saw it. It wasn't all peace and sunshine.
Look, we've had this political violence in our country dating back to 2016. I was in a mob in San Jose when Trump supporters were attacked with police of San Jose ordered to stand down. And there has never been justice for the victims of those crimes. There has never been justice for the victims of other anti-conservative violence in this country. And indeed, we've seen a summer of rioting and looting where largely there was no punishment for the transgressors. So we are going to see a very different interpretation of justice coming in this country.
Well, here's how one of the Black Lives Matter co-founders described the situation yesterday, Cynthia.
Black protesters are treated completely different. We were met with tear gas and brutalized by a militarized police force. What was probably most shocking for me yesterday was watching law enforcement either run away or open the gates for white supremacist terrorists.
Cynthia, this hypothesis was tested all of last summer, where the protests went on and on and on, including last night in Portland, Oregon, where there was more violence. So we know this is all a lie.
Yeah. I mean, I got to tell you, it's almost a joke to watch the hypocrisy here, because it really saddens me. Because the reality is everybody knows that wrong is wrong. Two wrongs never make a right. It was horrible watching what Black Lives Matter did to this country. I was ashamed. I was really ashamed. Burning down businesses, killing people, robbing, looting, stealing, in the name of what? I'm sure George Floyd was disgusted. And look, by the same token, I don't think, no matter what you think about Donald Trump, that he was happy watching anyone storm the Capitol. I'm not buying the hatred. There's been 4 years of hatred and division in this country, and it is not all Trump's fault. What lives inside of people has been given free rein to run rampant, and people need to check themselves. They really do. And, Laura, I'll tell you, there's a favorite saying of mine, in the Bible, in the book of Romans, that talks about how eventually God will just give you over to the sin that you want. I think, honestly, Americans need to really wake up to our good old-fashioned values that this country was founded on, and we've got to force a return to God. We've got to force a return to love. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. That is not happening, and that is not Trump's fault. And to hear Biden and Harris basically get up and pretend that they're the party of unity and say things that were more divisive than what they've accused Trump of, I'm so disgusted, and I'm terrified for us as a nation.
Now, I think they poured kerosene on the fire today with their comments. No one's talking about their speeches, by the way. I'm shocked that more people aren't focused on what they actually said about the country and our system of justice and who we are as a people. By the way, Harmeet, a lot of people thought it would have been better for the president to say what he said yesterday, but nevertheless, he offered a strong message today. Watch.
The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay. We have just been through an intense election and emotions are high, but now tempers must be cooled and calm restored. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power. We must revitalize the sacred bonds of love and loyalty that bind us together as one national family.
Harmeet, the president comes out with that statement tonight. I personally really liked it. I wish it came yesterday, but nevertheless, Wall Street Journal coming out tonight saying the president should resign. Your thoughts on that? That's going to solve a lot.
Well, Laura, I'm here at a meeting of the RNC, okay, and we're electing leadership tomorrow here, and I can tell you this is a very hot topic over here. I'm a big supporter of the president. I wish he had said this and said those remarks yesterday. I wish what happened yesterday with his supporters had never happened. But for the left to characterize Trump supporters and, over 70 million of us as a mob of white supremacists is outrageous. There were a lot of peaceful protesters in Washington yesterday. A tiny, tiny fraction of them got out of hand, and they should be punished, as the president said. Why should the president resign for that? I think it is time for an orderly transition. A resignation, an impeachment, even as some of these folks are saying, and Nancy Pelosi and others, is not an orderly transition. It is a witch hunt. It is punitive, and it is going to inflame rhetoric. And nothing is going to inflame rhetoric in this country for the next couple of years more than putting a target on the back of Trump supporters like the left is doing
well,
today.
the RNC should be grateful for the president's expanding the party to Latinos and Asians and all the other people he expanded it to, even with all the difficulties and the tumult of these last 2 months. There is an enormous debt of gratitude for the president's supporters and for his service to the country as well. And I hope people keep that perspective in mind, even with all the hardship. Ladies, thank you both very much.